Have you ever heard a scary story that stays with you for days? Well, I have one to share with you. It happened in a small town called Martha's Corner, where I used to work at a cozy food store. The store was famous for its homemade meals, cooked fresh daily by the in-house chef, Gideon. The townspeople loved his cooking, and it was the talk of the town. But one day, everything changed. The sky was dark and gloomy, and the wind whispered secrets. When I opened the store, I noticed Gideon was acting strange. He told me to keep the store closed for a special preparation he had in mind. Little did I know, the day's special on the menu was dangerous. Gideon was a mysterious man with intense eyes. He was skilled with knives, and his hands moved like a conductor's but with deadly precision. I always found his coldness scary, but his creepy smile made me shiver that day. As lunchtime approached, Gideon called me into the kitchen. He had made a grand feast for the townspeople lined up outside. He insisted I taste the meal first, which was unusual. As I tried the stew, it tasted unlike anything I had before. I forced a smile and told him it was excellent. When the doors opened, people rushed in, eager to try Gideon's cooking. They ate the meal with delight and praised Gideon for his culinary skills. But as the day turned into night, the town became quiet. The following day was horrible. The whole town was motionless, and the townspeople's faces were pale and frozen in a strange grin. The truth hit me, and it was terrible. The stew had a poisonous ingredient that would put you to sleep forever. I rushed back to Martha's Corner, but Gideon was gone. He left a note that read,
"The Last Supper is the sweetest."
The memory of Gideon's creepy smile, his cold eyes, and the ghostly faces of the townspeople still scares me. The food store is empty now, and the rusty doorbell echoes a haunting tune. Gideon's story still lives on, and people whisper it at night. This story will make you think twice before trusting anyone with your food. It reminds us that not everything is what it seems, and that even people we think we know can have dark secrets. Be careful, be aware, and don't let your guard down. Growing up on the city's outskirts, I heard countless urban legends that often overshadowed the truth. However, one tale sent shivers down my spine every time I heard it: the legend of the Underbelly Deli. Once a thriving family business, it had turned into something sinister after Mr. Wallace took over. The townsfolk whispered that Wallace had a taste for the grotesque, and the meats sold there bore a terrifying secret. Driven by curiosity and journalistic inquiry, I decided to visit the Underbelly Deli on a brisk, overcast afternoon. As I approached the store, I couldn't help but notice the dilapidated sign of Underbelly Deli shivering in the wind. With a deep breath, I pushed the creaking door open, stepping into a nearly desolate, poorly lit shop. Mr. Wallace, the owner, stood behind the counter with a sallow complexion and graying hair that rendered a dreadful aura. His eyes were sunken, and his face bore a perpetual scowl. I greeted him casually, feigning interest in his store's unique meats, hoping to learn more about the rumors that had been circulating for years. He showed me the variety of meats available in the back room without hesitation. I followed him into the room, ignoring the unease that bubbled within me. What awaited me was an image forever etched into my mind. The room reeked of fresh meat, but the carcasses hanging on the hooks were barely recognizable as animals. The flesh was deformed, almost human-like. It was as if they had been modified beyond recognition, and I couldn't help but wonder what sort of twisted experiment had led to such a horrific sight. Mr. Wallace saw my horror-stricken face and chuckled darkly. Our meats are sourced locally, very locally. The taste isn't mashed, I assure you. I was about to say something, but a noise at the entrance startled us both. It was a local police officer responding to a noise complaint. The officer scanned the room with suspicion, and I could feel his eyes on me, wondering what I was doing there. With a shaky breath, I stammered, "I was just leaving." The officer escorted me out, his suspicious eyes lingering on Mr. Wallace, who stood amidst the grotesque reality of his creation. His cold smile had now been replaced with a menacing glare. As the police began investigating the horrors of Underbelly Deli, I returned home and penned down the grim tale, warning the world of the evil that lurked in the heart of our quaint town. Once, in a quiet part of the city, I worked at a charming little eatery known as the Silent Knife. The cook, Mr. Blackwood, was a man of few words, but his skills in the kitchen were well known. He was tall, with dark, mysterious eyes that always seemed deep in thought. The eatery had an old-world charm about it. The smell of spices always hung in the air, but a cold, eerie silence settled in the corners of the rooms. Rumors floated around town that the ground the eatery stood on had witnessed death many years ago. My work started early every morning, helping Mr. Blackwood prep for the busy day ahead. But the midnight hours at the Silent Knife were strangely fascinating. That's when everything seemed still. The line between the real and the unreal seemed to blur. On a cold, moonlit night, I was entangled in the scary tales of Mr. Blackwood's past. Whispering in the town suggested he was once an assassin. They said the souls of those he had killed now haunted the Silent Knife, seeking peace. Ignoring these stories as mere whispers of the wind, I set to work one night preparing for the next day. But as darkness wrapped around, a chill filled the air. The walls of the Silent Knife seemed to tell stories of a bloody past. Suddenly, I saw ghostly figures gathering at a table in the back. They looked lost and sad, their eyes searching Mr. Blackwood, who was serving them an unseen feast. I was frozen as I saw Mr. Blackwood calmly serving the ghostly guests. His knife moved smoothly through the air as if preparing unseen dishes. I now realized each slice of his knife was reliving his dark past. As the night went on, the ghostly figures seemed restless, their eyes turning towards me. Fear crawled over my skin as I realized I had entered a haunted feast. The wind howled through the eatery as Mr. Blackwood moved towards me, his ghostly guests watching closely. He came closer, and I saw a dark smile spread across his face in the pale moonlight. The shadows in the room seemed to dance with every step he took, his knife glistening under the ghostly moon.